Words of Sri Aurobindo from the book The Mother, Part 2, Letters on the Mother by Our Lord, Chapter 9, The Mother and the Working of the Ashram, page 288, topic Pranam and the Mother's Contact. Sri Aurobindo says, Mother's contact is there all the day and the night also. If one keeps the right contact with her inwardly all day, the pranam will bear its right fruit, for you will be in the right condition to receive. To make the whole day depend upon the pranam, the whole inner attitude depend on the most outer aspect of the outer contact, is to turn the whole thing topsy-turvy. It is the fundamental mistake made by the physical mind and vital, which is the cause of the whole trouble. Date 16th March 1935. It is only if one can feel the inward touch of the mother without the necessity of the physical contact that the true value of the latter can be really active. Otherwise, there is a danger of its becoming like a mere artificial stimulant or pulling of vital force from her for one's own benefit. Date 2nd March 1937. Sri Aurobindo continues to say, if they are so dependent on the physical touch that they cannot feel anything when it is not there, this means that they have not used it at all for developing the inner connection. If they had, the inner connection after so many years would already be there. The inner connection can only be developed by an inner concentration and aspiration, not by a mere outward pranam every day. What most people do is simply to pull the vital force from the mother and live on it, but this is not the object of the pranam. Date 4th March 1937. Yes, says Sri Aurobindo. Yes, but the vitals test is very foolish. If the sadhana goes on whether you see the mother or not, that would rather show that the psychic connection is permanently there and active always and does not depend on the physical contact. The vital seems to think the sadhana ought to cease if you do not see the mother, but that would only mean that the love and devotion need the stimulus of the physical contact. The greatest test of love and devotion is, on the contrary, when it burns as strongly in long absence as in the presence. If your sadhana went on as well on non-pranam or as on pranam days, it would prove that love and devotion are not there, but they are so strong as to be self-existent in all circumstances. Date 8th June 1936. Question. It is curious that I feel mother nearer at pranam time than when she meets us and speaks to us familiarly. Is it because of a defect of the physical mind? For the Sri Aurobindo says yes, or at least of some part of the physical consciousness. Date 30th April 1934. Question. Just after making my pranam to the mother, I experienced an unimaginable depth in the heart and a fire bursting out. For the Sri Aurobindo says that is of course the psychic depth and the psychic fire. Date 5th May 1936. Question. When the mother pressed her hand on X's head to bless, I felt her touch concretely on my head. How does this happen? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, it shows that the subtle physical is growing conscious and felt the touch and the blessings of the mother, which is always there. Date 20th March 1935. There is always a touch coming from mother at pranam. One has to be conscious and open to receive it. Date 14th November 1933. Question: is it possible to receive the mother's influence at a distance in the ashram in the same way as we receive it at pranam? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, it is possible to receive, but not in the same way. There is an element, a touch of the physical consciousness that is wanting. Date 30th May 1933. Question: in the evening when I am late and miss the mother, do I receive her light as I would if I were present? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, you can receive the light at all times, even if less concretely than in the physical presence. Date 1st September 1933. Question: you wrote, without the inner touch, the inner being cannot work. I do not understand how this explained my question. The mother's inner or subtle touch felt before had not the same effect as her physical touch during the pranam. The former came and disappeared with a few seconds, leaving practically no effect, whilst the latter left its impress for a long time, even in spite of depression and resistance. For this, Sri Aurobindo says, it is because you lived in your outer and not in your inner being that is like that. But unless you open to the inner touch, the inner being cannot develop. Date 3rd Feb 1937. The inner touch is the mother's influence felt in the inner being. 6th Feb 1936. Question: when I had experiences and realizations, why did I not feel the inner touch, since it is said that none can have experiences which are the fruits of inner being's development without it? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, you do not feel it because the inner being was not awake to it. It felt only the results, and these results were not experiences in the inner being itself, but the self above. Date 6th Feb 1937. The inner and the outer contact. Sri Aurobindo says, let the inner contact with the mother increase. Unless that is there, the outer contacts, if too much multiplied, easily degenerate into a routine. I mean the inner contact in which one either feels one with her, or in contact with her, or aware of her presence, or at the very least turn towards her always. Date 16th March 1935. Question: today I had an intense desire to go in the mother's room upstairs so as to be near and close to her. For this, Sri Aurobindo says, but the coming near to mother should be in the inner rooms, not the outer. For the inner rooms can only always enter and even arrange to stay there permanently. Date 8th March 1935. Question: how is it that in writing a letter to you, the higher things increase and become stronger? For the Sri Aurobindo says, I suppose it is because in the act of writing, or rather in its beginning, you enter in contact with the mother and the force. Golden lines. I suppose it is because in the act of writing, or rather in its beginning, you enter into contact with the mother and the force. Date 10th May 1936.